My favorite question to ask fellow creators is, how do you explain what you do to people who don't know?
So, I mean, it depends. If I know you did a video on this, like if you're in the back of a cab and someone asks what you do.
What do you say?
I mean, the easy out is I run a video production company, which is what I do.
Yeah.
Other than that, I am basically a TV presenter from the 90s at this point. Like, I grew up watching the 4 channels that were available, and I seem to infuse a lot of that into what I do. Because I think I grew up in the age of linear television, in the age of content that, unless you specifically video recorded something and saved it, you would never get to see again.
Yeah.
And there's still quite a lot of sensibility of that in my head. And I sometimes find a disconnect between myself and, is it too patronizing to say the kids? The kids who grew up with the internet from birth, with YouTube from birth now, living in a world where almost any media you want is available on demand, either through someone illegally uploading it to YouTube because it's 20 years old, it's not on Content ID, to any streaming service, to anything like that, to what I assume is still piracy going on. You know, I remember the days of torrent trackers and all that. I assume they're still going, but we now have a world where it seems to be streaming for most stuff.
Yeah. So you feel like a sort of like a host on your channel, but your videos, if I were to just open up your channel right now and just start scrolling through video titles, it's all over the map. Like I have a theme. It's tech videos. So like, you know, tech products come out. I can explain that to people. I review and talk about the newest technology. It's like, okay, that's sort of a concise thing. If I were to try to explain your channel to someone who hasn't seen it, I might start with, what was the last video about? It was.
I don't remember.
It's
no idea. This is the question. Like, I will occasionally get someone asking me about a specific thing I've done in the past. I've got no memory,
no
of
clue.
It.
Yeah.
None at all. What I would like to run is the kind of 1990s factual entertainment magazine show would be the term in the UK, which is in the same manner that you would look through a magazine and there is an article on this, an article on that, an article, and maybe you're not interested in everything, but you know the writing that goes into, you know the style. Most of it is going to be something you're interested in, and because that was appointment to view television, then you would tune in for the show. I think the example that sticks in my head is the BBC, and then a load of other broadcasters had a show called Coast for a while in the mid-2000s, I want to say, which was it was stories about the coast of Britain. And one of them in each episode might be about biology, which is not generally something that, okay, it's some fish, I'm not interested. And then it might be, okay, here's a bit of archaeology that's this old infrastructure thing. Like, oh, brilliant, that's what I'm interested in.
Right.
But I would watch the thing about the fish because it was in the show, and I knew that the show was going to be good, and I liked that brand. And I feel like that's what I'm trying to imitate. Ideally, I would be putting out half-hour shows that cover 3 or 4 things, but the medium has changed. Right. That's not what YouTube wants. That's not what the entire medium is set up for, and you have to adjust your content to fit the medium. That's not a complaint, that's just a fact. So in a world where you have to clickbait every title and thumbnail, what I'm doing is taking the sections from what would be that magazine show, and now I can't do the thing about the fish. I mean, I still can, but if I do, fewer people will watch it. They're going to channel flip immediately to something else, to use the 90s analogy. And I guess I'm not saying that it was better then, because it's really easy to get nostalgic for things that were obviously worse. Mm-hmm. You know, it is obviously a much better thing that we have access to so much more variety. And so much more variety, so many more perspectives, so much more information. More information is always a good thing.
Yeah.
Don't hold me to that. I'll find a counterexample to that at some point.
I think that's a fair statement.
More information is generally a good thing.
Sure, yeah.
But at the same time, it's really easy to get in that kind of idea of, I can only do this now. That happened to me during the pandemic. I now do 4 to 5 minute videos, generally about interesting things in the world.
Okay, that's, I think, key. Because I think when I see your channel, I would argue you could do the video about fish, and I would watch it because
I did.
Because I know it's a Tom Scott video.
But I had to title it, "It's Like a Spaceship for Sharks."
Yes, and I will watch that because I know somehow Tom Scott is going to tie this together and make this actually work.
I talked about the infrastructure. It was filmed at an aquarium. But I made the analogy to a spaceship and to life support systems, because you are taking these creatures that are way outside their natural habitat, putting them in a thing with a wall on, and maintaining a higher pressure environment that if it breaks, they'll die. That's a spaceship.
That's just like a spaceship.
But how do you sell that to an audience where if you say this is about fish, they're going to click on any of the other dozen things that are in there?
Right.
And I think that might be one of the things that weirdly TikTok sort of solves and Shorts sort of solves, because you just get served things. And as long as you can make that argument in the first 3-4 seconds, you don't need to click. You need to clickbait the start of your video.
That's a different type of bait.
But that's a different type of bait.
Yeah.
I mean, TikTok terrifies me. You know,
we can go down a rabbit hole.
I love TikTok.
Do you make TikToks at all?
No, I responded. Okay. I responded to Shorts by starting a new channel where everything's 4 times as long and looks like a really 90s TV show. I didn't, because I feel weird talking this much. By the way, I'm going to say this, that I've learned. I've realized that's what I'm here for.
Yeah,
I'm the guest on this, and I keep having to go, I am talking too much. Should I? I should be asking questions. This is not my job here. This is.
No, we love this. This is I like talking to creators because I always find that we have a lot in common, and we always have different parts where we might diverge on either how we approach something or how we create. Probably my second favorite question to ask is like, how do you make a video? Which is probably even more interesting for you because there's such a variety of topics. You mentioned it's interesting things or interesting topics that you care about. Right, so that might be anything. There's a lot of... By the way, there's a lot...
It's mostly infrastructure. So there is a wonderful channel by a friend of mine called Evan, who runs a channel called Rare Earth. He's been a guest on my channel before. Yeah. He is interested in people.
So he makes videos about people.
He makes videos about people and humanity and the things that we do to each other. Quite frankly, like he takes it to some very dark places. Whereas I seem to be interested in things, and that's how my brain works. And I'm sure someone could do a huge amount of psychoanalysis on that to find out that ultimately people make, I think, sustainable channels on whatever medium that is, make videos about the things they're interested in.
Absolutely.
If you have a popular channel, but it's something you're not interested in, I suspect it wouldn't survive that long.
Yep. That's how burnout happens.
It's also interesting though, because like when we talk about, or when people talk about channels being successful, they say find a niche. Your niche is things, which is like the least niche thing possible.
And it didn't used to be. It used to be that the channel had my name on it, and it was just going to be about whatever I'm interested in. And there was all sorts of stuff. There was game show stuff, and there was all sorts of things. And that is not how YouTube works in the 20s, which is a bit frustrating. Again, magazine show. And I feel like, again, Shorts is a thing where you get to experiment more with that because, terrifying as it is, it polls your audience and the wider audience in the first few minutes, finds the niche for that video, and then goes from there.
Yeah.
I mean, what are your experiences with it? This is what I'm asking creators that I meet. Yeah. As someone who hasn't gone into that world, because it feels like a whole lot of effort I don't have brain space for to learn a new medium.
Right. Okay. It is fascinating. Like? So I have a bunch of thoughts on it. And to sort of tie it to what you mentioned, my channel is about tech. So I do feel an obligation with whatever video I make next to have some sort of tech in it. We just talked about how I'm reviewing a new car for Top Gear. There's usually some sort of tech in every possible thing, whether it's an electric car or a high-tech car or a hybrid powertrain. And this one's a Maybach, and I'm thinking, this might be the least tech car.
Right.
How do I bring tech in this to find a way for me to be the one talking about it? But with short-form content, like you said, each individual video gets its own exposure to whatever. So people aren't necessarily subscribing to a Shorts channel or subscribing to that Shorts experience, but they're just scrolling through their feed and it gets served to them. And so I found while I do make an effort to make tech-related Shorts, I have found you can experiment way more and often find success. If you make a good native video and something you really care about, it will find that audience. That being said, the most viewed piece of content we've ever made was a flip phone. It was just the LG Wing, just flipping it open.
Yeah,
has 40 million views on TikTok, and I guess
how long is that video?
It's like 30 seconds, not even.
We shot it in probably 5 minutes.
Yeah,
but I think that's kind of interesting. There are things we find really interesting sometimes where the interesting thing is only about a minute long. I mean, like, sometimes
Yeah.
it's not worth the full video.
Yeah.
And that's where we found that to work really
I reject
well.
video. Yeah, I reject video ideas for that reason. It's like it's maybe 30 seconds in there. I just realized that's probably a
all
good
we
way
need.
of doing it.
Yeah.
But then I put the effort in, and I hate to sound mercenary about this, there is not much return there other than being able to promote the channels where you make money. And I
Exactly.
hate to have the
No,
full
that's
mercenary
completely right.
attitude to that. There is not a sustainable monetization option for shorts yet. There wasn't there wasn't for YouTube in the early days either. But if you're only producing 10, 20 seconds of content, then you are not going to get as much back from that anyway.
I think someone told us most TikTokers want to become YouTubers.
It was the
because of
same with
that.
Vine. It was
Yeah.
exactly the same with
Yes.
Vine.
Look at
Yeah.
some of the biggest YouTubers right now. They
Yeah.
were Vine artists because there is no monetization there. And like, I'd say we spend the time making shorts and all that, but exactly like you said, that is for it because its algorithm is so good to hit an audience that we're hoping some of that brings it back
Yeah.
to where we're creating content.
Yeah, I created a separate shorts channel, and I get asked a lot of times why I created a separate channel for it, because honestly, the better ecosystem decision probably would be to do occasional shorts on the main channel, because what I've always found is those will just be super low effort, super short time. They will find an audience and just bring in new subscribers to the thing that actually makes the money.
Yeah.
So if I put them in a separate silo on a shorts channel, they're just going to be in a separate silo on somewhere that doesn't make money. So whether or not that was a good business decision, we have yet to see because I'm still experimenting with shorts. But I've done one short on the main channel, and it was a green iPhone unboxing.
Right.
Like, how long could you possibly talk about a new
Yeah.
phone color, right? Like,
It's green.
It's green. Here it is. So yeah, 12 seconds. There it is.
Yeah.
But that's, my experiments with shorts are not over. I'm very curious about the future of that.
I want to talk about the Maybach that you've got at the minute,
Okay.
just because.
Yeah.
How are you making that a technology video, if that's what you're going to do? Because I would absolutely, anytime I'm looking at car reviews, anything like that, the thing that I actually want to know as someone who doesn't really care that much about engines and things like that is not, it's not how fast does it go, it's not how comfortable the ride is this entertainment system going to annoy me for every minute I'm in this car?
I
Yep.
think the answer is yes for
Yeah.
most.
That's what I'm here for.
Is the adaptive cruise control going to actually work, or am I going to have to guide it along as it brakes too late all the time?
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like that's what most reviewers are going for. But then my concerns about cars are probably not those that most of the public have.
I love this question. So first of all, the Maybach is for Top Gear, which I write a column for. So I won't even be making a video about it. I'm just going to be writing a column for them.
Nice.
But I have made a bunch of car videos, and that is always a question of, like, how does my car perspective fit into the world of car videos? And I watch a lot of car videos, and a lot of them are just like you described. Driving dynamics, handling, power, acceleration. We're going to do a drag test now. Now we're going to do a stopping test. Now we're going to do a cornering test.
I'm going to be doing 55 down a motorway.
Like, the actual ownership experience is very different. So for a lot of these high-tech cars, and maybe I'm a little guilty because I've done a little bit of like the supercar world, and that's what people really care about in that world. But when you're buying something, I try to put it in your hands through the camera. I try to actually let you sort of own it, hold it, use it. And for a car, it's driving around on regular streets. It's going grocery shopping. It's dropping people off. It's a carpool. It's a road trip. And that's what I want to be able to give people for, like, regular cars.
Yeah, you did the EV road trip, didn't you?
We did the EV road trip, just like, what is it like to charge an electric vehicle for a 1,000-mile trip versus a gas car? That's
When your country doesn't have a national standard charging
Yeah,
connector.
It's really interesting to actually go through that process and figure that out. So, yeah, for the Maybach, for something like that, it's like, all right, I don't know. For people who are going to actually buy this $190,000 Mercedes in disguise, what do they actually care about when they're going to buy it? For some of them, it is the infotainment system. I will talk about that. For some of them, it is what's it like in the back seat, and I'll talk about that. But that's a unique challenge for a product reviewer, is talking to the exact person who wants to buy that thing.
Right.
Figuring out who it is before you even talk about
And
the product.
everyone has different requirements.
Yeah. Every product has different requirements.
Yeah.
Like, I'll review a phone, and it's like, if I review the iPhone, that's one audience. If I review the ROG Phone 6, I could talk about it the same way as the iPhone, but it's going to be lost on the people who actually want to buy the ROG Phone 6. So you have to sort of adapt the language a little bit.
I'm not sure there's many of those people.
Well, that's exactly right. It's a very small subset of those people, and they're over here. So they care about performance and gaming and clock speeds and things like that, frames per second. But that is a challenge of talking about products, I think. Hey, thanks for watching this clip. It was part of a really fun episode. Luckily, Marquez was able to deepfake himself and leave me to do the outro for the Clips podcast to allow you to like the video. So that's what I'm here to do. Marquez is actually super busy playing Frisbee at this very moment, but he sent me to ask you to like the clip. So please like the...
Well, I'm freaking out here. You better like this clip.
Like the...
I think we have to restart him.
Like the...